thinking about doing that very thing. I found one that we did. Yeah, it's a good area for those that want compliant folks. We can set a call for the day.
Doug, Romero will run. Good.
I'll see you there, Mark. Thanks, Steph. You gotta leave, go in order for that. Stay anyway. Yeah, when we get started now.
Good evening. I'm with Handicap. I'm Kaylin.
Good to see you.
Meet you, yes.
And I'll make you, this is Romero Alvarado here.
I'll let him know.
They're still there, but I expect they're going back.
Hey. There you go.
Good to meet you.
How are you, sir? Thank you for being here.
Hello.
How are you?
Pretty good.
Sir.
Right here.
I'm at your service. I'm at your service.
You guys faring well? They're good? Yeah. Oh. Not quite dry yet. Down the street. Stay busy with Boy Scouts and my team's on the station right now, so it's good. Keep going.
Hey.
It's been good.
It's fun to see you already.
Yep. See what the guys in front of the race about. Hey, I'm Matt. Yeah, I know it's like. I'm director of economic development. It used to be, it was planning and zoning and environmental.
Oh, you want me to go there?
Well, I know, but if we ever have a question, we might ask you. Kid you not. I'm gonna look a little bit closer when I go home.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say it's my marriage. I'll think there's many things that are.
Probably not.
Yeah, it's all everything.
I mean, if I'm a spot, I'll look back and I was like, okay.
Wait a second. Could you imagine if I was doing that too? It'd be pretty impressive. Wait, am I allowed to say that?
That's what we thought.
I'd like to call the New Kent County Board of Supervisors, July 14th, 2020. Board of Supervisors meeting to order. We will now stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance by Supervisor Tommy Tiller.
Let's pray. Most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the opportunity that we can be here tonight. Be with us now as we conduct this meeting. See that we do it in a manner that is most pleasing to you. For these things we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. We will now have the roll call. Ms. Watkins.
Mr. Evelyn?
Here.
Mr. Tiller?
Here.
Ms. Page?
Here.
Mr. Steers?
Here.
And Mr. Lockwood?
Here.
Thank you. At this time, we will go over our consent agenda. Are there any questions or changes? If not, a motion would be in order.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Tiller?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented and that it be made part of the record.
Thank you, Mr. Tiller. Ms. Watkins, will you poll the members, please?
Mr. Evelyn?
Aye.
Mr. Tiller?
Aye.
Mr. Steers?
Aye.
Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
And Ms. Page?
Aye. Now we have our Economic Development Authority Financial Assistance COVID-19 Grant Program Update. Mr. Smolnick?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Matthew Smolnick, your Director of Economic Development. Here to talk about the New Kent EDA grant program. So $100,000 was budgeted for this program. Would not have started and would not have got off the ground if it wasn't for the 5 people I'm looking at right now. So thank you for getting this off the ground and for caring about the local businesses here. So couldn't have done it without you. The process, the program was set up to really try to fill the gaps. Try to identify those businesses who didn't receive PPP funds or EIDL funds, or maybe didn't receive funds as part of the EDA loan program. So the application process opened July 1. It closes tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. All applications are due to the New Kent Visitors and Commerce Center, 7324 Vineyards Parkway by 4:30 tomorrow afternoon.
What time?
4:30, not 4:31 or 4:32, but 4:30, Wednesday, July 15th. In all, we're looking to award 40 grants, $2,500 each. The applications will be reviewed by the EDA committee sometime next week. We will hold a random lottery drawing Friday, July 24th at 9 a.m. So the drawing will be live streamed on the county's EDA Facebook page. Applicants do not need to be present to be chosen as a winner. So really, it was an effort to get the word out on this. This was a fast program to get up and running. Again, thank the Board of Supervisors and my EDA board and the committee for getting this going so we can help out our business as soon as possible. So really had a wide variety of outreach efforts. I just want to go through a couple of them real quick here. So Facebook, the county's EDA page, the county's page, and the chamber Facebook page, economic development county websites. I've had the application and an FAQ on my website since June 30. News Channel 12 did a story on us on July 12. WTVR Channel 6 ran a news article on us at 4 o'clock, and I got word on the way down, ran again on the 5 o'clock news. So that's wonderful. Got some footage of some of our applicants around the county, so I was real happy about that. Virginia Capital website, Facebook, Richmond Region Tourism Facebook, LinkedIn. We did a 2-minute video a couple weeks ago. We posted that out there, and also I did a blog that was posted out on the LinkedIn page this morning. Half-page ad was taken out in the Chronicle. There was an article in the Tidewater Review. I did 2 separate emails directed to the 950-plus businesses in the county. So each business got a personal email from me telling them about this, and then also the application was attached. Applications were on the front door of the Visitors and Commerce Center. We did a slide on Channel 48. Ms. Watkins helped me with that. And some good old-fashioned ground pounding. In my spare time, I got in my truck, drove around, drove down some driveways, and knocked on doors, and tried to locate those businesses, and just started talking. I had great conversations with these business owners. I think we got 6 or 8 grants in just from some of those one-on-one visits. So it was a really good opportunity to meet the business owners and really to show that this board and the county EDA really care about our businesses. A lot of times people think economic development is bringing in new businesses to the community. That's only part of it. It's supporting your local businesses, the family here in New Kent County. So that's really what this program was set up for, and we've had a busy couple days at the Visitor Center. I expect a very busy day tomorrow. So again, 4:30 p.m. tomorrow at the Visitor Center. Any small businesses in the room, I have a couple applications in my hand. Any questions, ma'am, or board?
I don't have a question. Just want to thank you, Mr. Smolnick, and the rest of the EDA for all of your efforts that you've taken, especially now during this time that we have not witnessed before, to reach out to our businesses in our county. So again, thank you for your efforts.
Yes, ma'am.
And again, the deadline is?
Tomorrow, July 15th, 4:30 p.m., 7324 Vineyards Parkway.
Thank you so much.
Matt, if I may, just curious, how many applicants have you had so far?
We've got several dozen that are in right now. One thing I found when I was out there doing my ground pounding was a lot of businesses did in fact receive PPP funding, which is a good thing. They were able to keep payroll on staff, and that's one of the criteria with this CARES Act money. You cannot have received PPP or EIDL funding to qualify. So, if that were the case, I think we would have doubled it. But, hopefully we'll have 70 or 80, qualified applicants that come in. But if you look at the applicants who are in, that's exactly who we were trying to target, the people who either may not have qualified for the federal funds or maybe the money dried up by the time they applied.
Good. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
At this time, we're open to our citizens' comment period. Thank you. No one signed up. So we'll close our citizens' comment period. Now we will move ahead with our presentations. Our first presentation will come from a presentation for the Preston Hollow Capital on plans for the issuance of new tax-exempt bonds by the Farms of New Kent Community Development Authority, David Guy and Preston Hollow. You want to do that first? Hold up for 1 second, Mr. Guy. If you forgive me, we're going to switch you around for a minute. We know you need some more prep time. So, sir, we're going to get you next.
Okay, no, we're fine.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Hathaway.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. We do want to rearrange the agenda slightly this afternoon. We have Mr. John Marshall here that is the general manager for Colonial Downs, to talk about upcoming horse racing at Colonial Downs, in which I believe practice started yesterday, as well as the Virginia Derby that's coming up, I believe, on, I don't have the exact date with me, the 27th? September 2nd. And also with the Virginia Derby, there is a sponsorship opportunity as well. Last year, New Kent was the title sponsor. Therefore, it was the New Kent County Virginia Derby. We do have that same opportunity to sponsor this year as well. And we ask your consideration of that. The last year we sponsored as a title sponsor for $50,000. I believe the title sponsor level is that same amount for this coming year too.
Mr. Marshall, will you come up, please? Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the board. Thank you for inviting me to give a brief update. If I may rewind for a moment, on July 1st, we were blessed with the opportunity to reopen Rosie's as part of Governor Northam's Phase 3 reopening, and that was done with the urgence of a resolution that was adopted by this board, and thank you for the support, and we're grateful for that opportunity. So the Rosie's operations have been up and running across all 4 locations in Virginia since July 1st, and today's our 14th day of operations, and things are operating safely and well. Shifting to horse racing, as Rodney had mentioned, the stable area had opened yesterday, 2 weeks before our opening day for live racing, and this year interest has grown across the country. This year, we're expecting to stable 650 horses on the grounds, all brought to us by a variety of 73 unique trainers to Colonial Downs, and the arrivals started yesterday. To give you some assurance on the measures that we're taking, both stable area and racetrack, we have a program entitled Extra Care. And our Extra Care program encompasses all the precautions that we are taking to have a safe stabling area, a safe racetrack area, and safety for our players at Rosie's. So all horsemen that enter the grounds with horses or without horses go through a temp check procedure upon entering the grounds, and then they can proceed to the stable area where they're reminded about our masking protocols, sanitizers, distancing measures, and so forth. Their IDs are checked, and horse papers are managed at the stable gate, and then they can proceed to the barns. If they do not wish to go to the barns, they can take a left and go to the racing office, where they will have already have gone through the temp check protocol. But at the racing office, we're encouraging virtual entries to minimize the amount of traffic in the race office. Entries by telephone, by internet, by texting are encouraged. At the state licensing office, we have plenty of plexi guards where people come and get their license with distance markings on the floor to encourage adherence to distancing. At the track kitchen, which will open July 20th, we're operating with takeout only. So horsemen and stable workers can come to the track kitchen and place their orders for takeout only. So as we're all living in these ever-changing times, those are measures that we're taking in the stable area. In the front side, at Rosie's specifically, temp checks are required if any of you have visited the first 2 weeks. Masking is a requirement, even emphasized more so now after the governor's address at 2 o'clock, where we're instituting a no shirt, no shoes, no mask point of view when it comes to masking. We're in the service industry. We're not in the enforcement industry, so we offer a friendly reminder first, and without masks thereafter, it's time to go home for the day. So we need to do that, especially after hearing the tenor of the governor today. For live racing, we were given guidelines by the governor in phase 3 pertaining to multi-race day, significant infrastructures, which is aimed specifically at Colonial Downs. And those guidelines permit us to welcome up to 1,000 people outside on the apron. During live racing, which begins July 27th and continues through September 2nd, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 5:30 post, the first 1,000 guests to the main gate will enter the apron after temp check, mask reminder, distancing decals on the apron, and all those necessary precautions. Part of our safety mitigation efforts, you heard me say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, was just that, changing from a Thursday, Friday, Saturday evening schedule to a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That should help control the interest. We don't know what to expect by way of patronage. We might see 200 people. We might see 1,000 people. But irregardless, our protocols are in place to manage that variety. And the way the precautions are written, we're managing Rosie's synonymous with live racing. So the two groups will be present synonymously, but if somebody at live racing wants to go to Rosie's, they'll have to exit the gate and re-enter the main entrance to be counted so that we can separate the attendance between interior and exterior attendance. And extra care will be applied in both areas. Unfortunately, the 4th floor that we all have come to enjoy, our suites and our 1609 restaurant, we're not planning to open this year. Knowing the difficulties that come with managing attendance and occupants in a multi-story building, we're going to be a casual fair race meet, F-A-I-R, outside, which will have food truck rallies every night with food truck as our hospitality. We will have a concession bar where guests can buy beverages outside on the apron. And those that are at Rosie's, vice versa, would have to exit the main entrance and enter the main gate at the racetrack. Now, working in our favor is a lot of our seasonal employees in racing join us from Tampa Bay Downs in Tampa, Florida. They were racing at the beginning of the pandemic. Their race meets started in the fall and went through the spring. When March came around, they were near the tail end of their race meets, so they had to make some adjustments. All of these employees are experienced in operating within these protocols, from the lead pony people to the racing officials, the race office staff, folks that work with horses. They know the importance of masking, and they know how to function in their jobs creating distance. The stablegate employees, very key. The employees that load horses and interact with jockeys. They learned how to do that, and they're well trained before we even receive their services. So we're fortunate to have that. So speaking of sponsorship opportunities, we are running the Virginia Derby. I misspoke, Rodney. It's September 1st, Tuesday, September 1st. The Kentucky Derby is Saturday, September 5th. So we're looking to ride that interest of Derby Week with the Kentucky Derby promotionally. And a common question that I would expect to receive from the supervisors is, our sponsorship level being equal to prior year, how is that comparable in the age of limited spectators? Well, the power of that sponsorship really comes from the distribution of the racing signal. The distribution of the signal has improved year over year. We're being received by over 900 outlets, predominantly online. And the revenues during this pandemic period have actually increased exponentially nationally. Some people might ask, why would you race if you can't have spectators? But we're seeing racetracks reporting year-over-year comparisons of anywhere from 40% to 200% greater than year-over-year. And that's largely due to there's less product and less things for bettors to wager on. Sports are closed. Those dollars are flowing to America's oldest pastime, which is horse racing. People are reuniting themselves with the sport of kings, as it was once known, by tuning into horse racing and wagering online or through different sites, and we're seeing it in the numbers. And we're anticipating the same trends for Colonial Downs race meet. And the exposure for owning the namesake to what one day should become New Kent County's crown jewel, the Virginia Derby, is presented to the board to consider again this year. That's a quick summary of Rosie's plus live racing plus sponsorship opportunity. Open and encourage questions from the board.
Any questions from the board? Comments?
Yes, will you be issuing any VIP passes?
1,000 of them for 18 days this year.
I was there when you guys opened on the 1st, and I was glad that you were back. And I will say that I was very impressed with the protocols you've got in place for spacing and distancing and temperature checks and all that. It was very impressive. I'm glad you're back, and I love the R burger.
Thank you, Mr. Lockwood. Thank you.
I would like to add for the board, if the board so chooses to be a sponsor this year, I will need a motion to appropriate $50,000 from the Colonial Downs Capital Reserve account. Also to add, as with the reopening on July 1, 2020 of Rosie's, we've also have started receiving our portion of waging revenues as well. And I would like to add also that just last week, our receipt was not far from where we left off at when they shut down. So it does seem like things are going well at Colonial Downs and Rosie's.
Hey, John, if things get worse, what do you think will happen? Do you think the governor, if the cases keep going up, they would potentially shut you all down again or not? Is that a chance that could happen?
It's a great question. And the way we're built, the way we build ourselves towards recovery is we're built to expand and contract based on
The guidance
from the authorities. So our hope is, and all of our hope is, that we remain open,
right,
and we not slip into phase 2. But that was the importance behind the message today that I took from it, is to not allow us to slip into that category. And the only way we can earn the ability to stay in phase 3 and grow into a phase 4 is through the performance of our behaviors as not just Colonial Downs Group, but as New Kent County residents, as Virginians. You know, it's up to us to be safe.
And also, just like to, during this whole pandemic, I know you kept your employees on as long as you could. You provided food for first responders, and I just want to thank you for everything you did throughout the county. Ever since y'all been here, you said what you're going to do is what you've done, and you've been a great partner with the county and all the citizens here at the county. So we're happy you're back up and running, and we want to support you.
Thank you, Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? Well, I would like to say that I had the pleasure of getting my temperature taken, and so it was very brief, and it was like, stand over here, okay. And so they have a process to get you in. They did ask for my ID, and I said, as often as I'm here, right? And trust me, it's for the seasoned French fries. But anyway, just wanted to echo Supervisor Evelyn that that you have my full support, because Colonial Downs and Rosie's at every location has done exactly what they said they were going to do for the localities and above. I was looking at the news last week about a nonprofit, and they said they had gotten a donation from Rosie's in Richmond. And I was like, wow, for all of us to watch our businesses struggle and in our county, and to have you all to know that you feel the burden as well, that you still reach out to help others. I think that's commendable. And so I thank you, and for that, I believe that you absolutely not demand, but you deserve our respect and our support. And for that, sir, we appreciate you and the rest of the Rosie Cares team.
Thank you, Patricia.
The chair would entertain a motion for sponsorship.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Steers?
I would like to make the motion that New Kent County appropriates the $50,000 Virginia Derby sponsorship for the 2020 season from the Colonial Downs Capital Reserve Fund. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Steers. Ms. Watkins, will you poll the members, please?
Mr. Tiller?
Aye.
Mr. Steers? Aye. Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
Mr. Evelyn?
Aye.
And Ms. Page?
Aye. Thank you, Mr. Coleman. Right? I got it right?
Thank
Absolutely.
you, Board, the supervisors. Have a good day.
We'll all see you soon. Okay, Miss.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. The next item we have is actually an exciting report. I'm sorry, is my mic on? Yes. I'll scoot it a little closer. The next item we have is an exciting report, a project that I know Mr. Steers has been working on since its inception and with other members of the community regarding the Providence Forge Volunteer Rescue Squad building. Mr. Steers, if you'd like to lead this one, you can, or I can comment, either way.
Yeah, about 2 years ago, I was contacted by one of the charter members, a guy a lot of you know is Wimpy Iskett, and he said the Volunteer Rescue Squad building had been vacant for some time. He was one of the chartered members, and he would ask me if I would go to work and try to see what could be accomplished in trying to get the squad building at least turned over to the county. And there were several other people involved in it. We had not a charter member, but a lifetime member, Mr. Wakey Howard, former sheriff of New Kent County, and former charter member, Richard Morris. And so anyway, we worked on it. It's been a long, drawn-out process. There have been times I want to throw my hands up and say, forget it. There were times I felt like I was either being a Matlock or a Columbo and retrieving a vehicle that was taken out of the county and had it towed to the sheriff's department. We finally got all the squad back together, and as of last night, we received the final signature to turn the Volunteer Rescue Squad building over to the county. And as of today, the Commissioner of Revenue states that the building, the facility is assessed at $746,700. And if, Madam Chair, if you wouldn't mind, if you would allow it, if any of the charter members or anyone from the Volunteer Rescue Squad, Quentin Volunteer, anyone would like to speak, is that all right with you, Madam Chair?
Absolutely, Mr. Steers. And if they don't like to speak, We would still like for you to come forward so that you could be recognized, please. Oh, my Lord, look at this.
Jeez.
Mr. Steers?
Mr. Iskett, could you please come to the podium?
Mr. Morris said if they come, he'll come.
Mr. Morris and Wakey Howard.
Thank y'all. I know you've been doing work on all this a long time.
I would indeed, go ahead. Go ahead, Sheriff.
I just wanted to say, we kept driving by, and this is the man that got it started. And this is the man that finally finished it. And it took us a long time, but you drive by that building, and my dad donated the land to that building. For the building. And if he were here today, I'm sure he would be real happy that the county hopefully takes it. And just want to thank Mr. Steers for everything he's done and the board. And a lot of work went into that building years and years ago. This was Richard here. He's our captain for how many years? 25, 30 years. So just want to thank everybody.
I just want to thank the board for hopefully accepting this property and able to use it. And Ron, thank you, sir. You worked awful hard on this. I'm most appreciative, and I know these guys are. Thank you so much, sir.
Yes, sir.
I know, and y'all realize that lots of work went into this thing 50 years ago, 60 years ago when it started. And we had a good time. We made a good life of it. But I hope, and I know you will, but I hope the county can find something to do with this building, this property, that's beneficial to the balance of the key people in the county. They're the ones that pay for it. And I like to see it stayed that way, as a community-type building of some sort. I don't know if that's possible, but I certainly would like to see it happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'd like to take the opportunity just to, first of all, thank you, Mr. Morris, for those many years of service. I was telling somebody, I remember you, and when you all used to come over to the motorcycle races, and you had those little caps on, and it was like, wow, look at them. And the ambulance looked like a hearse, so nobody wanted to get hurt because they thought they were going to get in the hearse and had to go for a ride. And so absolutely many memories. So we thank you. We thank the rest of the volunteers that are here, and you, Sheriff Howard and Mr. Wimpy, and then you, Mr. Steers, for sinking your teeth in like you always do and not letting go until you get your way. And so that was a compliment, sir. I'm doing the best I can with it, right? So anyway.
If you mess with the Steers, you get the horn.
But anyway, we just thank you, and we are absolutely so appreciative. One thing about it, God gave us a certain amount of land, and no more land is going to be created. And so we are especially proud to have that building hopefully renovated and open again. So we will be good stewards of this gift. So thank you so much. And again, thank you, Mr. Steers.
And Madam Chairman, if there's no other comments or discussions, I have a motion.
Yes, sir.
Madam Chairwoman, I move to authorize the county administrator to execute all necessary documents in a form approved by the county attorney to assume ownership of property and equipment from the Providence Forge Volunteer Rescue Squad.
You've heard the motion. Ms. Watkins, will you poll the members, please?
Mr. Steers?
Aye.
Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
Mr. Evelyn?
Aye.
Mr. Tiller?
Aye.
And Ms. Page?
And again, thank you so very much. And we're going to see all of you again soon. Absolutely. So thank you so much again. Now with our presentations, Mr. Guy, thank you so much for your patience as we have a presentation from Preston Holland Capital on the plans for the issuance of the New Kent tax exempt bonds by the Farms of New Kent Community Development Authority. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chairperson Page. We're here tonight. I'm not going to make the presentation, so I'll spare you having to listen to me. We'll have too much more distinguished people make the presentation. Can you hear it now? It's not on, is it? Where's the switch on? Can you hear me now? Okay, good. Good. I was going to say we have the individuals from Preston Holland Capital here who will make the presentation, so you don't have to listen to me tonight, which I'm sure will be joyful to all of you. Also, Rodney, is the phone line set up, Rodney, for Keenan Rice? Yes. Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure. So we have Romero Albaron from Preston Holland Capital and Mark Almentrout from Preston Holland Capital. So I'll let Mr. Albaron give the presentation. But thank you also for having us on your agenda tonight.
Madam Chair, members of the board, may I? Okay. Good evening. My name is Ramiro Albaron. Can you hear me okay? Terrific. I represent Preston Hollow Capital, and we are the sole bond owners of a bond issued back in 2006 for the Farms of New Kent, issued by the Community Development Authority of the Farms of New Kent. And what I would like to do today is provide a bit of an update as it relates to some of the activities that have occurred over the past 2 years, frankly, of our ownership, and ask for some consideration from the county board for a new financing that we'd like to discuss with the county and ultimately as well with CDA board. So that's my intent here. I have a presentation. It's quite long, but I don't intend to go through every single page and bore you to death. But what I'd like to do is hit the highlights. And then joining me in the presentation tonight is Keenan Rice, who is the CEO of Minicap, who is on the phone, I believe. And I might ask if Keenan, okay, great, Keenan. Keenan, I'll call on you when I get to your page. So with that, do I control here? I do. Yeah, and how do I get to the next page? Oh, okay, I see. So again, I threatened you with a very long presentation, and there's the the table of contents, which again I'm going to go through fairly quickly in terms of the discussion tonight. But just for those that don't know who we are, Preston Hollow Capital is a specialty investment company. We're headquartered in Dallas, Texas. We have been established with a permanent equity capital base of about $1.5 billion. And we have a multi-billion-dollar balance sheet. And our business is to make investments in primarily economic development type projects. Sometimes we do come in and try to fix broken situations, which is what we stepped into here. With me is Mark Almentrout, my colleague here, who's been living Farms of New Kent 24/7, and David Guy, who's been acting as our on the ground developer since we took over. And as I mentioned, Keenan Rice is on the phone from Minicap. But just in terms of a bit of the background here, the bonds that that we ended investing in recently were issued back in 2006. The purpose of those bonds were to finance some of the infrastructure at the Farms of New Kent, as well as to prepay some tap fees that were required as part of that development order. Those were about $85 million in bonds, and things were going quite well until the Great Recession hit. And in the 2010 to 2012 period, some of the landowners, not all, and I would like to call out the owners of Land Bay 1 here, Bodie Noel, have not been part of the delinquent ownership group here, but it was others. So the other property owners in Land Bays 3, 4, and 5 went delinquent in 2010 through 2012, which put a strain on these bonds. As a result, those bonds went into default in 2006, and through various actions by the trustee for those bond owners, the lands that were previously delinquent in Land Base 3, 4, and 5 were put into the control of the trustee. And as the bond owners of those 2006 bonds, we effectively control the land development. We're not the landowner, but we control the land development because it's held by the trustee, working on our behalf. And since our acquisition of these bonds, which occurred in 2017 and 2018, we spent quite a deal of time negotiating with the prior bond owners and acquired 100% of those bonds. So we represent all of those bonds, and have since, our ownership of the bonds have taken aggressive actions to restart the development. So as part of that, we stepped in right when the PUD was getting amended, which came to your board. And again, in partnership with the folks at Bodie Noel as well as us, fulfilled the requirements under the PUD requirements that were part of the new PUD. Part of it was the fire station and the contribution of lands. So I believe the last payment has been made on the, so the full $750,000 of cash payments towards the firehouse have been made, as well as obviously the delivery of the land. The farmers market, too bad COVID hit. We understood it was a great success. It will be again, one day soon, but the contribution of, that farmers market, which has been, a community magnet, as we understand. The water solution, the permanent water solution for the farms of New Kent, as well as addressing some of the issues that had been nagging, the prior homeowners that were there. Some of the stormwater issues, as well as some of the, the paving that was left neglected, has since been fixed. In addition to that, we came in and stepped in and cured approximately $40 million of delinquent special assessments that were encumbering those properties. That without, without curing that delinquency, it would have left that land that was represented by Land Base 3, 4, and 5 undevelopable. So it came, with a $40 million advance of capital by Preston Hollow to clear those tax liens. And it's a process that we continue to work on because assessments are still due, on the prior assessments that we're working through with your new treasurer in terms of continuing through that process. But I'm proud to, talk about the restarting of the development with David Guy's help and with the county staff. A number of things have occurred since we stepped in. Land Bay 4 has 174 brand new lots on the ground. D.R. Horton is a brand new builder, and we drove around the community this afternoon, and I believe there are 18 or 19 homes, either fully complete or coming out of the ground as part of D.R. Horton's activities there. But it started with an investment by us of about $9 million to put in those 174 lots. Similarly, across the street in Land Bay 5, we've entered into an arrangement with Ryan Homes for the sale of all 1,164 lots, broken up in 2 phases, and each of those phases broken up into 3 product groups. Mark can get into some of those details, but we're going to be into the county here with permits for clearing and grubbing, hopefully any day now, and commencing on the development activity for a very large development move in Land Bay 5. I've already discussed working with the existing homeowners in Land Bay 5. Frankly, they were neglected. Those homeowners that moved into the first phase of the K-Hovnanian project were left there without any plan moving forward, and it's been a goal of ours to engage with them to make sure they're understanding and have a voice in terms of some of the new activities and development that's going to occur, primarily around the clubhouse. Next page here is just to give the county board a sense of the scope of development that still needs to occur. So this is, a estimated budget for just those lands controlled by the trustee, those lands, undeveloped lands in land base 3, 4, and 5. What you're going to see is that there is an invested capital requirement of another $100 million to make that development a reality. It's something that we're willing, we're capable. We knew that was part of our investment. We made the bonds. But there's going to be a much more effective way to make that investment. And again, that's what we're here to talk to you about. So our request is for the county to consider supporting new money that would be issued through the Community Development Authority. It would clearly not be an obligation to the county. It would be secured by special assessments, and special assessments levied only on those lands held by the trustee. So, those lands in land base 3, 4, and 5. The intent is not to issue bonds for the full amount, but to, manage it at a more prudent level. We're thinking a prudent level of liens ultimately to be levied against those 3 land bays is approximately $45 million. So just, again, a portion of the $100 million that is anticipated to be required. The rest would come from us. The reason for, the request here is that, to the extent we invested those dollars, it's coming at a relatively costly cost of capital. We're an investor. We have to look at opportunity costs, and we made this investment. To the extent we're putting those dollars in, it's going to be a return more analogous to a land development transaction. To the extent we issued new money bonds here, it would come at a dramatically lower cost of capital. We estimate in today's world that would be about 5% instead of cost of capital of equity land development into the teens. So there's a benefit to the property, and what we would suggest is that it would be evidenced in the form of an acceleration of the infrastructure, as well as maintaining the high quality of the amenities, as well as having a discussion with the county about projects that are important to the county to the extent we can finance them through the bonds and have that be part of the capital program. The one thing, though, that we would be willing to commit to the county is that still encumbering the existing land base 3, 4, and 5 properties are special assessment liens on those lands of approximately $66 million. In exchange for the permission to levy new special assessment liens, we'd be willing to prepay those liens in their entirety so that all of the liens associated with land base 3 and 4 and 5 for the 2006 bonds would go away. The bonds wouldn't go away. The bonds are still secured by the real estate, but the liens and managing through the encumbrances that are associated with those 2006 bonds, which have been a challenge for the county, are a problem that we can make go away with the prepayment of those special assessments. Some key features of the new bonds that we'd be asking for, and I'm happy to take questions if there's, Nope, okay. Some features of the new bonds. I keep on stressing this because I want people to understand that it's only on lands that we effectively control. So those liens that would be levied to secure these new bonds would just be levied on land base 3, 4, and 5. And the reality is that we're not going to levy all of the liens day one. We're going to go through this fairly programmatically in a thoughtful way. We would imagine that the $45 million of liens get phased in over three separate series of approximately $15 million each. I've already mentioned that the new special assessment lien would be the only lien that would be levied on the property because we'd be prepaying the existing 2006 lien, the $66 million that's outstanding there. The proceeds of the bonds would absolutely go towards public infrastructure. It's a requirement under Virginia statutes that these types of bonds be used for public infrastructure. It would go towards, roads, curbs, gutters, sidewalks, public amenity spaces for the residents, as well as, more regional important infrastructure that, again, is a conversation we're willing to engage with the county. We're asking that, the special assessments and the bonds, have a lien and a term on the bonds of 30 years, and that a portion, a very manageable portion of that special assessment lien be allowed to be what I call run with the land. We've laid out an example of an estimate cap of an obligation that we think is relative to other CDAs in the state of Virginia, as well as other districts across the country, to be a manageable level. Here, we're suggesting that $100 per month, $1,200 per year to be a manageable cap, that to the extent there was a lien that was levied and ran with the lands, that it would be, again, capped at that manageable level. Any lien on top of that would be required to be prepaid at the time of a transfer to a new homeowner.
What happens to the people that already have a
home? They are unaffected. So this.
They won't. So the people that are already there won't have a special assessment.
Correct. This would only be on the undeveloped lands that are still held by the trustees. So I don't know how well if you've been out there, but as you move into Land Bay 5, where Kay Hovnanian currently sits, or the former residents, those residents will not be touched in any way. They're not financially impacted. Frankly, they're going to be benefiting, from this, because this is going to be accelerating and creating a better amenity package, for example, that they're going to have rights to, but they have no financial obligation. These liens would just be on those new lots that are going to be created in Land Bay 5. Prior to any homeowner being there.
I have a few more questions.
Okay.
If I could ask a quick question.
Please.
With the new bonds that would be issued, would the county need to go through the process of creating an additional CDA?
We do not believe a new CDA would need to be created. A new special assessment methodology and lien would need to be created, which would sit underneath the CDA. But the intent here would be to have this conversation with the county as it relates to the creation of the new special assessment lien, and then go to the CDA board as well. They're going to need to be part of that process, as well as the issuance of the debt. An important concept here that we want to hit head on is the disclosure to new residents. We are asking for something that did not exist in the 2006 bonds, which is the permission to have the lien run with the land at the capped amount of $100 per month. And the important part of that is disclosure. So the home builders have been part of this, and there's in other transactions in other districts, not this one. So there's a fairly well-established process where there's a disclosure, that's part of the package for any new prospective home buyer that's going to be purchasing new product. And it's a form that we could all agree to ahead of time, with county input, with the CDA input, with the home builders input, so that it's very clear, what that obligation would be on a going forward basis. But as importantly is for the next resident, that buys from that first, the home buyer that bought the new home, who then sells it to another home buyer. We need to make sure that there's a similar, ability to disclose the obligation to that home buyer. And the way we've accomplished that is through a recording of that obligation against the land. So as title companies are coming in and doing their work for the subsequent transfer, it's going to be an obligation of the homeowner that's selling it, but it's also recorded against the land, and it's picked up by those title companies.
But
Go ahead.
But I know that's going to be a big issue, because like Patriots Land, and we got that ad valorem tax, and I know Mr. Tiller gets that call all the time. Like, I didn't know I had to pay that extra ad valorem tax and a road in Patriots Land, and the state, didn't take it over, but it's supposed to have been disclosed in those real estate documents. But everybody just goes through and signs them. They don't pay any attention, and I don't think real estate agents going to disclose it. They're going to, I mean, in theory they would, but I'm sure after a while it's going to get passed up. So, I mean, something.
What I'd like to do is call on Keenan Rice from Unicap because his company administers many of these districts both in the state of Virginia and elsewhere, and I think Keenan can speak to that disclosure and how his company gets involved when those calls in fact do come in. I'm not going to suggest that they won't, because they will.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Keenan Rice. I'm the president of Unicap. Currently, we assist the county as well as the CDA with the administration of the CDA, and we appreciate the opportunity to do that. We have a number of functions, provide a number of services in that context, and I'll be talking about some of those more in a few minutes. But one of those services is actually to assist with disclosure. And there's a couple of things we do to help with the disclosure. Number one, we make sure the builders have the appropriate forms and the appropriate information. We normally look to provide disclosure in three different means. One is recorded in the land records, because that's the legal means of providing disclosure on real property. Number two, there's information put into the sales contract so that when everybody signs the contract, that information is there and part of that contract. And then number three, we also encourage builders to put the information in the HOA documents, because that's another form of disclosure, and it's, in particular, it's something that is continued to be provided as homes are resold. And so we found it to be a very effective means. In addition to that, we provide a toll-free number so that anybody who has any questions about the special assessment can contact us, and that those questions go to the person who manages our work on the CDA. And additionally, we typically will go out once a year and meet with the sales agents who work in the project. Because the sales agents are dealing with the customers, we want to make sure the sales agents understand enough to answer questions, and then also to refer questions to us if they're not able to answer them. One other thing that we would contemplate to do, we typically do with CDAs where there are homeowners, is we will also set up a page in our website and provide the link to that where a property owner can go there and they can just plug in their address, and it'll bring up all the disclosure information for their specific property, the amount of the assessment, the amount that's due that year, as well as other disclosure information about the improvements that are being provided. Just as an example of another project that you may be familiar with, where the county levied special assessments that are paid by homeowners. If you know the Magnolia Green project in Chesterfield County, that has been the top-selling project in the Richmond area off and on, for a number of years. It's been a very successful project. And that's the project where Chesterfield County created a CDA and levied special assessments, which are used to repay bonds that put in road improvements, specifically road improvements to Route 360 and some other roads. And again, we act as the administrator for that CDA, including, any homeowner has a call. They have our toll-free number, but if they call the county gives them our toll-free number, because that's our responsibility, is to answer questions from any homeowners, because we have that information available. We know the information we need to give to them. And, so any homeowner in Magnolia Green, and there's a significant number. There's currently over 1,500 homeowners in Magnolia Green. There's going to be about 3,000 when it's completed, but currently there's over 1,500. And every homeowner there, if they have any questions, they contact our office. And I have to say that's gone very smoothly. We get very few really calls or complaints. People will call about information if they're selling a house. They'll call to get information to provide, disclosure and things like that. But it's really gone very smoothly. And that's been a very successful project. And most years the top-selling project in the Richmond area.
Okay. So my question is, so we're going to ask new residents to pay $100 a month, and then when the land bay is finished, they're going to pay additional fees to become an HOA?
There is an HOA that's currently part of all of the farms in New Kent development. There's a master HOA and there's a HOA for each of the land bays, which is part of the already current ongoing obligation of residents that move into the farms of New Kent to become a member and become a payer. So yes, those would still exist. And then in addition to that, those new homeowners that move in subsequent, to any of the other prior homeowners, having, been there before, just the new homeowners that move in and have been disclosed, we're suggesting that, we have a $100 per month additional charge just to those residents.
Okay.
And is that for a 30-year term? Am I reading that correctly?
That is correct.
30 years, the assessment goes away. The special assessment.
That's correct, yes.
Just also, the current homeowners pay in Land Bay 5, pay approximately $240 a month for their homeowners association. That includes grass cutting, all the maintenance that are there. And right now, they have private roads. So in the new division, you won't have private roads, so that number would go down, I imagine, like $40 or $50 a month because they'd be paying through the taxes. So they don't get double hit on that stuff. It actually goes down because it now will be a public road. So it does not affect adding a tremendous hit on to the HOA.
My issue becomes when everybody's sitting around a pool and the discussion comes up, and it will, and you're paying additional fees that your neighbor isn't paying. And the Chesterfield scenario and Richmond scenario sounds very good. However, in New Kent County, I don't care what it is, they're going to call the Board of Supervisors. And the farms of New Kent, that would be all me. And so I'm just saying that's a concern.
Excuse me, just got a bloody nose. Can you give me a tissue? I do not have, I have a sinus issue, so this is common. I apologize.
I'm good. I got a mask.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate the concern. We wanted to hit it head on. We didn't want to hide this, as part of the conversation. The reason it's important is that there is going to be, this obligation. It's going to be fully disclosed. It's going to be priced into the price of the house, and it's also going to be taken into account the fact that the HOA fee is a little bit lower. So as all the residents get together, yes, they're going to have that conversation. All of the existing Land Bay 5 residents are going to have access to that beautiful 8,000 square foot clubhouse that's going to be built, and there will be that conversation. What we're trying to do is A, create a prudent level, B, take into account the fact that there's going to be a different other lower cost as it relates to the HOA, and then provide a mechanism here through MuniCap that is an efficient way for you to handle those calls. Again, I'd be foolish to come here and tell you that I don't think you're going to get any of those calls, because you will. But there's a process here that is very well established. MuniCap manages all of the CDAs in the state of Virginia, if not all, most of them, Keenan. So we're not all of them. So you're not dealing with an organization here that's done it for the first time. So all of those things are part of the consideration, and I think a phone call with ultimately MuniCap and a conversation with the homeowner should be able to alleviate those concerns.
Also, under the current, your commercial land is advertised over 30 years anyway. So you have a system set up with the commercial.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm absorbing. Go ahead.
So the $100 a month assessment, that's to go towards the amenities or to pay off the
It's going to go towards the repayment of the new bonds that have been issued. So the $100 per month, when you add it across all of the various homeowners, will create a revenue stream that would be used to pay the debt service on those bonds for the next 30 years. $100 per month does not support the full $45 million. So I think the permanent indebtedness that would be supported by that level is substantially less than $45 million. So if we went through the process, with your support for issuance of $45 million of bonds, a lot of that's going to get paid off before the transfer to the homeowners, because that $1,200 per year, $100 per month revenue stream supports in the $15–16 million range. So just a portion of the 45.
All right. Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
I understand what you're trying to do. What's to keep the developers of Land Bay 1 coming here and ask for the same thing? I mean, when do we... Have you spoken with the developers?
I have not, and I'm not aware of their development plans. I know they've sold some property recently. There's one key distinction here that's that I'd like to highlight, is the fact that part of this request would be to prepay all of. We will actually write a check for $66 million to prepay the existing lien.
But you get another loan for that.
What's that?
I mean, those would be the bonds, the money from the bonds that you're paying off to pay back. You're still borrowing money, right?
Yeah, and then after that lien is clear. But the reason that's important is because the land then becomes free and clear of the 06 bonds and the special assessment, which creates the room for for the new bonds to be issued. When we write that, I'll just tell you how it works. When we write that $66 million check, it's just like we did with the $40 million to prepay the existing the prior delinquencies on the trustee lands. We wrote a check. It went to the county. Those dollars were used to clear off all of the tax liens. And then because we're the sole owner of the 2006 bonds, all of that money came right back to us. It's harder for the residents or for the owners of property in Land Bay 1, for example, to make that same effect, because when they make the prepayment lien, it doesn't come back to them. It's going to come to us. So it's a financial cost to Land Bay 1 that is different than it would be for us, because we're both the owner of the real estate and we're also the owner of all the bonds. So that ability to make that payment is fairly smooth. It's not as efficient for other property owners in Land Bay 1.
So since I'm the mother of all of the Land Bays, what about Land Bay 1?
Our intent was to leave them unimpacted completely as it relates to the new money bonds. So the financial obligation that they signed up for, as part of the 2006 bonds, is unchanged. And they have absolutely no impact as it relates to the new bonds, because those would only be secured by liens on the lands held by the trustee, the land base 3, 4, and 5. Okay. I'm almost done here, so I'm gonna go through the presentation, finish it up, and then I'm also here to answer as many questions as the board has. I just lost my mouse. Oh, there it is. Well, I'm going to go through the rest of this, via memory here, and you folks have the books in your possession there. So, on page 11, the reason that we're asking the board to consider this request is I guess in a lot of ways this is going to sound like we're patting ourselves on the back, but that's not intended, in that way. But since Preston Hollow came in and took over control of the bonds, a lot has happened. And without our involvement, that property would have likely still been mired, with the prior delinquencies, and would not have seen the level of development activity that has occurred. So, we have put our money where our mouth is in terms of making investments, here in the county, getting developers, builders re-engaged, having Ryan Homes and D.R. Horton Homes, two of the largest builders in the country, be investors here with the county to bring in new residents, I think is something that is important, as well as being able to come in and clear up a lot of the mess that existed prior to our involvement, which was the prior delinquencies. Came with, again, a fairly significant capital investment. The bonds will come and provide just greater, cheaper access to capital necessary to build the infrastructure, which is going to translate into the faster delivery of infrastructure, a better level of amenities, quicker installation of those amenities, so that not only the new homeowners are happy, but those existing homeowners that are there are even happier. And then it's an encumbrance that really is going to be put on us and us only, because we're not the owners of the lands, undeveloped lands in land base 3, 4, and 5, but we effectively are. So we're asking the county for support to allow us to lien ourselves. And then, with that ability, we can go out and get, third-party money at a significantly lower cost of capital than ours, which is going to do nothing but benefit the community. I think, that's really what thank you. What I wanted to cover. There's other materials inside of the presentation, which includes some of the specific activities that Keenan and Municap have already referenced in his discussion, as well as a summary of the activities primarily in land bays 3, 4, and 5, and you'll see the vision of Ryan Homes as it relates to land bay 5, for example, and there are 3 product groups, and I think we're going to be delivering the first lots for Ryan Homes at the end of this year, beginning part of next. So I think we're on target for the delivery of about 90 lots in the lifestyle brand for Ryan Homes in that time period, and they're committed under their contract to purchase 30 of those, and then continue to move on to the attached product as well as the Renaissance product, which is a little higher end, larger lot for them. So there's a lot of again, details on the plan, and I'm happy to go through that, but I feel like I've taken up a lot of your time already tonight.
Do we have any questions? I think that I have too many to ask. All right, at this time, I am interested in, and will probably attend the CBA.
Mm-hmm.
Also, interested in knowing what the residents of Land Bay 5, their thoughts on it. And I know when I said about the phone calls, it felt like, no, not really. It is. It's really. And so, and because we are one family, I have to make sure that that all the land bays, I speak with all of them, and so appreciative of how the Arbors is growing, but just to understand, it's not even just about this. I get phone calls about their homes and warranties. And, I mean, it goes deeper than that.
Yes.
So I just wanted you to understand the magnitude of what happens. And so I'm not taking it lightly, but we will be in conversation.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, members of the board. Any other questions, or?
They had the Avalon.
Yeah, they got the Avalon.
Mhm. Okay. So, if we have no further discussion, I thank you so much for being here. And just like I said, this is one of many in a short period of time, I promise.
Okay, thank you very much.
And I see that Doug and Donna here with Land Bay 1. And so thanking you all for the growth over there. And Bonnie Noel because you could have given up and said, we're done. But you've hung in there and fought the fight. So thank you so much. And that's appreciative and not taken lightly at all. So thank you. Thank you. And Patrick, I'm sorry. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a good evening. Okay, next on the agenda, item 2, New Kent Charles City Emergency Radio Agreement. Mr. Hathaway.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. You have before you a proposed agreement between New Kent and Charles City that I am asking for authority to execute this agreement with Charles City. This is for New Kent to allow Charles City to join our emergency radio system. Charles City has entered into an agreement, preliminary agreement with Harris Communications. Actually, since we've purchased our system, the name has changed. It's no longer Harris, it's L3 Harris now. This is a year-to-year agreement that can be terminated with 6 months' notice by either party. The agreement sets up a cost structure that involves Charles City being responsible for 100% of the cost for the purchase of new equipment and installation. And Charles City will be sharing the cost of operation. And it would be a proportional sharing. And if you look at attachment A of the agreement, it lays out their annual financial responsibility. And you'll notice FY21, there's a much lesser amount of $46,313. That is because when Charles City comes on to our system, they will have a 1-year warranty. So there is no warranty or maintenance fee included in that first year of operation, and it's picked up in years 22 on. And there is an escalation as well each year in anticipation of operating costs, electricity, fuels, staffing involved in this increasing as well. Charles City has signed the agreement. Their board has taken action and has given their county administrator authority to sign the agreement. And now I am requesting permission to sign this agreement as well. I'm excited about this mainly because, really my background is in regional government, starting at the Planning District Commission out of college, and it's rare when you get a win-win for all parties, and I definitely believe that this agreement is a win-win for all parties. It's a win for Charles City because they will be replacing a very outdated system with the newest state-of-the-art technology that's out there and drastically improving their radio communications at a third of the cost of what it would cost to purchase a brand new system on their own. It's a win for us being a neighboring locality in that we do a lot of mutual aid calls in Charles City, and it will improve drastically our communications with our public safety officials while we're out there assisting with calls. And for no additional cost to New Kent as well. There is a proposed motion in your packet. A copy of the agreement is in your packet as well, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Madam Chair, I see the sheriff. fire chief back there, I guess y'all reviewed it. You think this is going to be, y'all are good with it as well? Okay.
So my question becomes, since we've had Harris, I know that our dispatch team has spent a lot of time on those radios. Have we worked out the bugs and all of that, or who will be there to help Charles City along in their efforts to for startup?
We have worked out.
This is a bad answer. It took two people.
Exterminated the most of the bugs.
Okay.
Sheriff Wallen Page. We continue to grow our system. We do have a joint agreement through this with basically New Kent Fire personnel working with Charles City to, for lack of a better way to put it, manage and coordinate their system. And that was, on our part, I believe, selfish in the fact that we get to guarantee the fact as to how their system is set up within our infrastructure to make sure that quality is taken from what the quality infrastructure and product we currently have, to make sure that it's done in the appropriate manner and it's not interfering or causing any degradation to the New Kent system.
Good.
I'd like to add, if you look at the cost model on the last page of the agreement, there is a radio system management charge. So Charles City will be sharing in that cost of our staff time with assisting them with the system.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? The chair is ready for a motion.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Steers?
Yes, especially when the sheriff and the fire chief are in agreement with this, I would have to be in agreement with it. But I move to authorize the county administrator to execute the proposed agreement for emergency radio services.
Thank you, Mr. Steers. You have the motion. Ms. Watkins, will you poll the members, please?
Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
Mr. Evelyn?
Aye.
Mr. Tiller?
Aye.
Mr. Steers?
Aye.
And Ms. Page?
Aye. Well, it's past 7 o'clock, so we can start with our public hearings. Public hearing number 1 is our 2020-2021 budget. Mr. Hathaway?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. The first public hearing you have before you is Ordinance O-06-20. This is an ordinance amending our current fiscal year 2021 budget and appropriating funds received from the Federal CARES Coronavirus Relief Fund. State code requires anytime you have a budget amendment over 1%, we are required to conduct a public hearing. On June 1st, New Kent County received $2,014,601 from the state, passed through from the federal government of CARES Coronavirus Relief Funds. That does exceed the 1% of our adopted budget, therefore, hence the reason we're conducting a public hearing tonight. At our last meeting, I presented to you a plan, an expenditure plan for that funding, which was adopted. Tonight is actually approving the appropriation of those funds and the budget amendment so we can proceed with the expenditure plan that you've already seen.
Any questions of Mr. Hathaway?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Steers?
There is a $210,385 balance that hasn't been allocated to anything.
That's correct.
Is it possible that with these $2,500 grants that we're giving out to businesses that we could possibly add that to the grant program, which would, instead of giving out 40 grants, there'd be 124 grants?
That's very possible. What I would ask is that we reevaluate where we stand with all of our expenditures come late August and see what available funding we we have at that point. We may have more than 210,000, may be able to appropriate more.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Rodney, a lot of what we're talking about is for PPE for just about everybody these days.
That's correct.
I'm curious about what kind of price guarantees we might currently have for the PPEs that we're talking about buying. Is this stuff that's already been purchased or that we anticipate buying between now and the end of the year? Because I know that prices are continuing to escalate almost on a daily basis, and it's really crazy the rise in PPE, gloves, and all that stuff.
Yes. I'm going to ask our fire chief to come forward and address that question. I know he's been very busy ordering PPE.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Lockwood, over the past, 18 weeks now, we were pretty lucky going into this where we utilized the state EVA contract for the majority of our PPE purchases, where those prices were already locked into competitive pricing, and we held that those vendors to those prices. And you're absolutely correct. There are vendors out there really taking advantage of this situation right now. Right now, what we've done on the global PPE, as you see in there, we've divided it out that anywhere that we can contain and maintain that EVA state contract bidding, we're going to continue to do that. Also, because it's bulk, where it's necessary, where we have to do the purchasing policies of over $50,000, we're going to put out, if it comes to that, a request for quote or a RFP or something along those lines, so that we do get the competitive pricing out there. But for right now, we did find multiple vendors on the EVA state contract who are honoring those prices prior to the COVID-19. So we're doing a really good job of making sure we're not getting price gouged, and I think we'll come out positive at the end of that.
Thank you.
Just one comment. Wanted to thank especially Captain Barber and Chief OPEC, Account Administrator and Assistant Account Administrator. Many hours and thoughts and planning has gone into this budget. Hopefully, we will be able to further assist not only our businesses, but we have the opportunity to have funds to do some other much needed things. A lot of uncertainties, and I know that becomes not my favorite word, but a word I use frequently now. But and they're being very good stewards. They have a system in place with Ms. Margaret in finance and Rebecca as well. So thank you for all of your hard work and your efforts. The chair will now entertain a motion.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can we open the public hearing? Thank you, Mr. Tiller. Yes, sir. You can bring me the other ones when you come back, too. Thank you. No one signed up for the public hearing, so we will close the public hearing. Any more questions, discussions? Now we will entertain a motion. Go ahead, Mr. Evelyn.
Madam Chair, I move to adopt ordinance O-06-20, amending the fiscal year 2021 budget and appropriate funds received from the Federal CARES Coronas Relief Fund.
Thank you, Mr. Evelyn. You heard the motion. Ms. Watkins, will you poll the members, please?
Mr. Evelyn? Aye. Mr. Tiller? Aye. Mr. Steers? Aye. Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
And Ms. Page? Aye.
Okay, public hearing number 2 is the New Kent Chamber of Commerce lease for office and storage space at the New Kent Visitors and Commercial Center. Ms. Hathaway.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. You have before you in your packets a draft proposed lease with the New Kent Chamber of Commerce for office and storage space. Currently, they lease one office in the visitor center, and we allow for outside storage of a trailer that they currently own as well. The previous lease was for 1 year. The proposed lease that you have before you is also for 1 year. The reason it is for 1 year is we hope during this fiscal year we will do an analysis of all of our county office space to ensure that we're using it in the most efficient way possible. As you know, we are running close to capacity as far as office space. So prior to making any further commitment, longer commitment to the Chamber of Commerce, I would like for us to do an internal analysis of all of our office space and then see how we can accommodate them in future years.
Any questions of Mr. Hathaway? Open the public hearing. Do we have any persons signed up? Thank you so much, sir. No one has signed up, so we'll close the public hearing. The chair is ready for a motion.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I move to adopt the proposed lease with the New Kent Chamber of Commerce to lease office space at the New Kent Visitor and Commerce Center for a period of 1 year.
Thank you, Mr. Lockwood. You've heard the motion. Ms. Watkins, will you poll the members, please?
Mr. Tiller?
Aye.
Mr. Steers?
Aye.
Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
Mr. Evelyn?
Aye.
And Ms. Page?
Aye. Okay, next public hearing, amendment of Appendix A to County Fee Schedule of the New Kent County Code. Mr. Hathaway.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. You have before you Ordinance O-07-20, amending the Appendix A in the New Kent County Code, which is our fee schedule. And there's two areas of amendments, one dealing with courthouse security fees and the other parks and recreation facility rental fees. I'll take the courthouse security fee first. The 2020 General Assembly amended Section 53.1-120 of the Code of Virginia, increasing the courthouse security fee from $10 to $20. And when I say increasing the maximum amount that a locality can charge for courthouse security services from $10 per conviction to $20 per conviction, and that's criminal and traffic convictions. The state code is specific in the use of this funding, which is to be used specifically for our costs of providing security at the courthouse facilities. Currently, we charge $10, which was per conviction, which was the maximum. Since that maximum has been increased to $20, I'm proposing that we increase our maximum fee to $20 as well. The second area of change for Appendix A is our parks and recreation rental fees. As we've done an assessment of who's renting our facilities, we've noticed that a significant amount of our rentals are from persons that do not live within this county. We feel that it's fair for persons that do not live here and pay taxes here that goes towards the upkeep of our facilities, that they pay a higher rental fee. And that's what we've proposed for your consideration. And that is listed in the ordinance that you have before you. Those rental fees include the Quinton Community Center and Quinton Community Park Pavilion. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
The Parks and Rec, am I reading this wrong? It says the current fee is $30 per hour. The proposed fee is $30 per hour.
Well, right. The current fee for everybody is $30 per hour.
Okay.
We've changed the title of that fee to a resident fee, which that will be $30 per hour if this is approved. We've also added a non-resident fee, and that's $40 per hour with a maximum of $400 maximum per day. That's for Quentin communities.
Okay, I see.
So we're going to be voting on whether or not it's going to cost us an extra $10 when we get a speeding ticket.
Yes.
Okay. Just make sure that-
If you're convicted of a speeding
Convicted,
ticket.
right, okay. Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Lockwood?
Oh, have we finished? I'm sorry.
Oh,
Never mind.
I'm sorry. The public hearing is now open. No one signed up. Public hearing is now closed. The chair is ready.
Madam Chair, I have one slight amendment. In the first whereas, there's a reference to a code section 36-105. That code section should be 15.2-1806. Just to.
I thought that was.
Yeah, I knew Mr. Tiller caught that, so. So when we make the motion, just make it with that amendment. 15.2-1806.
Yes.
Got that, Mr. Teller? Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Lockwood.
I move to adopt ordinance 00720 to amend Appendix A of the New Kent County Code with the aforementioned correction.
Thank you, Mr. Lockwood. We heard the motion. Ms. Watkins, will you poll the board, please?
Mr. Sears?
Aye.
Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
Mr. Evelyn?
Aye.
Mr. Tiller?
Aye.
And Ms. Page?
Aye. Thank you. Our final public hearing is for the United States Postal Service lease. Mr. Hathaway, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. This has been a project in the making probably at least 3 years, maybe longer. We've all noticed that the current New Kent Post Office is drastically too small to accommodate the need and the growth of this county as well. Therefore, we, the board, has had numerous conversations with the United States Postal Service, encouraging them to find a new location to build a larger facility to accommodate our current need and future need as well. The Postal Service started that search about a year ago, and after looking at various properties, came back to me asking if the county would be willing and interested in building a facility on our campus next to the existing, the current post office. And after discussion with you, we've decided to look into that. In your packet, you have a diagram of a rendering of what the new post office would look like. You also have a proposed lease with the post office that's been approved by the post office. The lease is a 10-year lease with an annual payment of $60,000 per year. And when I say build a post office, really our only requirement is to build the shell facility. And the post office will finish the insides of the building. So our requirement would be to deliver the site and a shell building to the post office. And we would have 1 year from the date that the agreement is signed. And I know in the agreement, it states, in this version of the agreement, it states 165 days, 180 days, I believe. I just got a revised agreement this week that I've been pushing for a 1-year agreement. The post office, they do a lot of work with the private sector as far as building these facilities and leasing it back. quite frankly, as a public entity, we move a little slower, unfortunately, than the private sector does, because there's a lot of public procurement laws that we have to follow. So they did grant us a 1-year period to turn over a shell facility to them. You'll notice that there are 3 motions that are proposed in your packet. One is to authorize me to sign the lease agreement. The second is a resolution giving me signatory authority to sign the lease agreement as well. The post office is requiring that you adopt a resolution authorizing me to sign the agreements, and we have a motion to actually sign the agreement. And we have a third motion as well, and that is to execute the proposed commission agreement with Jones Lang LaSalle for real estate broker services related to this process. You've seen that agreement, I believe, back in February, but we wanted to hold off on action until we got the actual lease. Be happy to answer any questions.
Do we have a project manager for this, or does the post office?
We will have a project manager for this. I've spoken with someone that's interested, that's already familiar with this project. There's some things, paperwork, he's getting in order to be in a position to contract with us.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Open public hearing. No one has signed up, so we'll close the public hearing. Questions or comments? If not, we're ready for the motion. Motions?
Yeah.
Madam Chair, I move to authorize the county administrator to execute a lease agreement with the United States Postal Service for the construction and lease of a new post office to replace the existing New Kent post office.
Thank you, Ms. Go ahead.
Can I do them all at once? Yeah.
We can do them all?
Yeah. Yes. Madam Chairwoman, I also move to adopt Resolution R-29-20, granting signatory authority to the county administrator to sign the proposed lease agreement with the United States Postal Office. I also move to authorize the county administrator to execute the proposed commission agreement with Jones Lang LaSalle, Inc. for real estate broker services related to this project.
One more.
That's it.
Okay. You heard the motions. Ms. Watkins, will you poll the board, please?
Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
Mr. Evelyn?
Aye.
Mr. Tiller?
Aye.
Mr. Steers?
Aye.
And Ms. Page?
Aye. Thank you so much. Elected officials reports. Mr. Lockwood, do you have anything?
I do, Ms. Page. I just want to let folks know that coming up real soon on August 1st, normally the Proclaiming Grace Outreach does their Jenna Bash. They've been doing it at Rockahawk for a number of years, and it is a very large fundraiser for them, but due to the situation we're in this world these days, they've opted instead to do something more of a telethon. So on August 1st, from 11 to 3, they're going to be running an online Facebook Live telethon, something similar to the Spot On that they ran. Since they reopened, when they opened about a month ago, that day was their highest grossing day. That was their record day, so it was a very nice surprise. But we're hoping that this is something that we can continue with, but I'm looking forward to being a part of that, and hope the community will partake in it as well. So keep an eye on Facebook. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mrs. Steers?
Madam Chairman, I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tiller?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Evelyn?
No, ma'am.
A warm up. Just a couple of brief things. One is to thanking New Kent County staff for their commitment and their due diligence as we have gone through this corona virus and all the changes that they had to make sure that the county continued to run and they were safe. Welcoming everyone back, glad to see everyone back, and still with your continued commitment and dedication to this great county while being safe and practicing safe guidelines. And so we're very grateful for you and all that you have done and are doing and will do. And on that note, believe it or not, that is all I have. Staff reports, Mr.
Madam Chair, members of the board. This week, last week, we interviewed for 2 director positions. And I'm excited and happy to announce that starting August 1st, we will have a new building official, Mr. Brian Michaelitis, who's standing in the back. Brian has been with us for some time, and I'm always glad when we have the opportunity to hire from within. So I know he'll do a great job for us. We've also filled the position of General Services Director. Actually, yesterday was the first day Mr. Rick Stewart began work as the General Services Director. Rick is a New Kent County resident, and it's great to hire from within the county as well. Rick comes to us with a lot of experiences. He's coming to us from Great Wolf Lodge, where he was the maintenance director there. No, but Rick's specialty is HVAC, and I am so glad to have him on our staff right now. So we just know he'll do a great job for us as well. Also want to remind the public, this Saturday and every Saturday until October 31st, from 9 to 11:30 in the New Kent County High School parking lot, we will have our farmers market, and it's been a great event thus far, and we're looking to even greater turnouts. And definitely we encourage the public to come out and participate in the farmers market. Thank you.
Okay, and speaking of the farmers market, wanted to take the opportunity to thank Krista and her husband Michael and my friend Gage, along with Mr. Hathaway. They're out there every Saturday promoting healthy eating as I bring Gage candy. And so anyway, but to work all week and then come out on Saturday. And then Mr. Watkins flows through and joins us. So thank you, Wanda, as well. And the county, I think, were spoiled last year by our farmers market. But we are hopeful that next year we will be back at the spot up at the roundabout. So thank you so much to you all for your extra efforts in making sure we provide that to our community. Any other business? Another business? Appointments delegated by district. Mr. Lockwood? Mr. Steers?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Tiller? Mr. Evelyn? All right. Appointments not by district. And Mr. Lockwood? Steers? Tiller? And Ms. Evelyn? And any appointments by regional boards and commissions?
Madam Chair, I move to appoint Patricia Page as New Kent's representative to Central Virginia Transportation Authority to serve a 1-year term ending December 31st, 2020.
Thank you, Ms. Evelyn. Ms. Watkins, will you poll the members, please?
Mr. Evelyn? Aye. Mr. Tiller?
Aye.
Mr. Steers?
Aye.
Mr. Lockwood,
Aye.
and Ms. Page.
Aye. Okay, and so for tonight, as we move for adjournment,
So moved.
Ms. Watkins, will you poll the board, please?
Mr. Tiller,
Aye.
Mr. Steers,
Aye.
Mr. Lockwood,
Aye.
Mr. Evelyn,
Aye.
and Ms. Page.
Aye. Our next regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Supervisors will be at 6 p.m. on Monday, August the 10th, 2020, and the next work session, 9 a.m. on Wednesday, July 29th, 2020. Both will be held here in the boardroom of the Administration Building. This meeting is adjourned. Sir.